Welcome to O&R Insights. This video presentation delivers a systematic overview of key biblical topics dedicated to illuminating biblical truths. Drawing from a foundation of rigorous biblical research, we offer insights tailored for deep thinkers who seek understanding and spiritual clarity.
All right, today we're going to tackle a question that really gets to the heart of how we read the Bible's very first pages. And that question is, what existed before the 6 days of creation? You see, this study is all about exploring the fascinating biblical evidence that suggests a vast, ancient universe was already here, long before the story in Genesis even starts. So let's jump right into this investigation.
So here's the core question we're digging into. Was the entire universe really created in just 6 days? Or does the Bible itself point to a much, much bigger story? We're going to challenge that common interpretation and see what the scriptures and, creation itself have to say about it.
Okay, to figure this out, we've got a clear path ahead. We'll start with a question of beginnings. Then we'll dive into decoding the Genesis narrative. After that, we'll listen to the testimony of the stars, explore the rebellion among the worlds, and even look at a council of worlds. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see Earth's place in the cosmos.
All right, first things first. Before we can start any investigation, we've got to set some ground rules. This study makes a powerful point. God doesn't ask us to just believe blindly. He wants us to search for truth like it's a hidden treasure. And to do that right, we need a really firm foundation.
So, O&R Insights gives us 5 factual pillars to guide us. Here they are. Number 1, God created everything. Simple as that. 2, God's character doesn't change. He's consistent. 3, our understanding of His truth can actually grow and develop. 4, real truth can handle any scrutiny you throw at it. And number 5, biblical truth isn't based on one isolated verse. It needs multiple sources. These are the principles that are going to keep our conclusions on solid biblical ground.
Okay, let's dive into our first line of evidence by going right to the source, Genesis chapter 1. Now, the key here is to let the author, Moses, define his own terms. We have to ask, what did he actually mean by the words he chose? So let's take a close look at the word heaven. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 8, Moses is incredibly specific. He writes, "And God called the firmament heaven." Now think about that. In the context of this story, he's not talking about the entire universe or where God lives. He's talking about Earth's atmosphere. And let me tell you, that distinction is absolutely crucial.
So that begs the question, what is this firmament? Well, the Hebrew word is Raqiya. It comes from a root that means to beat or spread out, kind of like a blacksmith hammering a piece of metal into a thin sheet. And the study points out something really interesting. In Moses' time, with all the Egyptian influence, this was understood to be a solid dome over the earth. This wasn't some kind of scientific mistake in the Bible. It was simply the way people of that era understood the world.
And this quote from O&R Insights really illustrates the point perfectly. Look, Moses was a product of his time, right? He was educated in all the wisdom of Egypt. So God communicated truth through the framework Moses already had. He wasn't giving him a lecture on astrophysics. He was revealing himself using the language and the concepts that Moses and the people would understand. The focus was always on who created, not the scientific details of how.
Okay, on to our second line of evidence. The Bible itself, in places like Psalm 19, tells us that the heavens declare the glory of God. And O&R Insight says we should take that literally. So let's do it. Let's ask, what story is creation itself telling us?
Let's start with our next-door neighbor, cosmically speaking. The nearest star, Proxima Centauri, is more than 4 light-years away. Now, what does that actually mean? It means the light you see from that star tonight actually left that star over 4 years ago. It's an incredible distance, and believe me, we're just getting started.
But now let's scale that up, way up. Take Omega Centauri, a star cluster right here in our own galaxy. It's almost 16,000 light-years away. To put that in perspective, the light from those stars started its journey to Earth before the last ice age was even over. We're talking 16,000 years ago.
And this is where it gets really interesting. We can see stars, like one called UDF 2457, that are 59,000 light-years away. So this study raises a question you just can't ignore. If the whole universe is only, say, 6,000 years old, how is it possible for us to see light that needed almost 60,000 years just to get here? It seems like creation itself is telling us a story of incredible age.
All right, our third clue takes us from the physical cosmos into the spiritual realm.
The Bible talks about a massive rebellion in heaven, led by Lucifer. And this is key. This study suggests this cosmic conflict happened long before Adam and Eve ever walked the earth.
Take a look at Isaiah chapter 14. We get this incredible glimpse into Lucifer's mindset. He says, "I will exalt my throne above the stars of God." Now, the logic here is pretty straightforward, isn't it? For him to want to put his throne above the stars, those stars, and maybe the worlds orbiting them, had to already be there.
And this is where some supporting context from the Geoscience Research Institute helps connect the dots. It mentions that before the rebellion, God's government already included all the created worlds. It even says Satan thought he could get the other worlds to join him. When you put that together, you get this consistent picture of a huge, populated universe that was the backdrop for this whole conflict. And this was all happening before the 6 days of Genesis.
Our fourth piece of the puzzle comes from one of the oldest books of the Bible, the book of Job. It talks about this heavenly council meeting, and it's attended by these beings called the sons of God. The question is, who exactly are they?
So the scene is set in the first 2 chapters of Job. It says that on a certain day, the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And guess who showed up with them? Satan.
Now, here's a really critical distinction. In Matthew chapter 18, Jesus says that angels in heaven always behold the face of my Father. They're always there. But these sons of God in Job, they came to present themselves on an appointed day. That implies they traveled from somewhere else just for this meeting. And that's why this study argues that they aren't angels at all, but representatives, delegates from other worlds.
So that brings up the question, why was Satan there? Well, he was showing up as the new self-appointed representative of planet Earth. He'd stolen the job that Adam was supposed to have. If Adam hadn't fallen, he would have been Earth's representative at that meeting. The fact that Satan was there as Earth's delegate is a huge clue that everyone else there was a delegate too, from their own worlds scattered all across the universe.
Okay, let's recap. We've looked at the actual language in Genesis, we've heard the testimony from the stars, we've considered the timing of Lucifer's rebellion, and we've investigated that council in Job. Now it's time to put all those pieces together and see what kind of cosmic timeline they create.
So what this all points to is a very different sequence of events. Step 1. The universe and other worlds are created over a vast expanse of time. Step 2. The rebellion of Lucifer breaks out in heaven among these already existing worlds. Step 3. Our own planet Earth exists, but it's just like Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 says, dark, formless, and covered in water. Which brings us to step 4. The 6-day creation event we read about wasn't the creation of everything, but a focused, special project to prepare this one planet to be a home for humanity.
So here's the bottom line, the main takeaway. The Genesis story isn't about the creation of the entire universe. It's the specific, detailed story of our planet, Earth, and how it was prepared and transformed from a dark, watery place into a home for you and me. The universe, it seems, was already ancient.
And that reframes our entire perspective, doesn't it? Earth isn't the beginning of the whole story. It's just one chapter, but maybe the most critical one. Our world becomes this small stage for a drama of universal importance, a story being watched by beings from all over the cosmos. The question, then, isn't really, are we alone? The real question is, what is our part to play in this ancient, cosmic story?